The Gulf Wars, which include both the 1980 to 1988 Iran-Iraq War and the 1990 to 1991 Gulf War, often referred to as Desert Storm, are significant chapters in modern history, particularly in the Middle East. These wars, especially the Gulf War of 1990 to 1991, had far-reaching consequences on geopolitics, economics, and global security. Here's a breakdown of these conflicts and their historical impact. 1. Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988. Causes. The Iran-Iraq War started when Iraq, led by Saddam Hussein, invaded Iran in September 1980. The reasons for the war were rooted in territorial disputes, particularly over the Shatt al-Arab waterway, political differences, and Saddam's desire to assert Iraq as the dominant power in the Arab world. Outcome. The war ended in a stalemate with no clear victory and heavy casualties on both sides. It led to massive loss of life, estimated over 1 million, and significant economic damage to both nations. Despite the war's inconclusive end, Saddam Hussein remained in power and Iraq was left weakened. Historical impact. This conflict exacerbated tensions in the region, set the stage for future instability, and was a precursor to later conflicts involving Iraq. It also deepened animosity between Iran and many Arab nations. 2. Gulf War, 1990 to 1991. Causes. This war was triggered by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait in August 1990, when Saddam Hussein accused Kuwait of exceeding its oil production quotas and stealing oil from the Rumaila oil field. Iraq's economy was severely strained after the Iran-Iraq War, and Hussein sought to control Kuwait's wealth to alleviate this. Coalition response. The United Nations quickly condemned the invasion, and a coalition of forces led by the United States, including NATO countries, several Arab states, and others, was assembled to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait. Operation Desert Storm. After months of diplomacy and sanctions, the coalition launched a swift and overwhelming military campaign in January 1991, resulting in the liberation of Kuwait in February 1991. The operation featured advanced military technology, including precision-guided missiles and stealth bombers. Outcome. Iraq was forced to withdraw from Kuwait, and Saddam Hussein's regime was severely weakened. However, Hussein was not overthrown, leading to further conflicts and uprisings within Iraq in the years that followed. Historical impact. Military advancements. The war showcased the effectiveness of modern military technology, such as precision bombing and stealth aircraft, which influenced future military conflicts. Regional dynamics. The Gulf War significantly altered the political landscape of the Middle East. The U.S. and its allies maintained a strong military presence in the region, leading to subsequent conflicts like the Iraq War in 2003. Economic impact. The war and the sanctions imposed on Iraq following the conflict had lasting economic effects, particularly on Iraq's civilian population. Post-war effects. The war led to a continued U.S. military presence in the region, ongoing sanctions on Iraq, and an international debate about the use of military force for regime change and humanitarian intervention. 3. Long-term consequences and legacy. Political and social impact. The Gulf Wars fundamentally reshaped political allegiances in the Middle East. Iraq's relations with neighboring countries and the West remained strained for decades after the Gulf War, culminating in the 2003 Iraq War. Rise of terrorism. The Gulf War and the post-war sanctions regime were factors contributing to the rise of radical groups in the region. The discontent created by the Gulf War and subsequent international actions fueled extremist ideologies, including the rise of groups like Al-Qaeda. U.S. influence in the Middle East. The Gulf Wars cemented the U.S.'s position as a dominant military and political power in the region, with its military bases remaining in countries like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. This presence, however, has been a source of tension and resentment. In conclusion, the Gulf Wars not only had direct military and economic consequences, but also reshaped the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East, with lasting effects on regional conflicts, U.S. foreign policy, and global security issues that continue to this day.